Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Constant?
Thank you. I think it's quite an arguable statement that the so-called chief equity officer is in fact working on equity issues at all. We have a presentation coming before us at a work session on the affirmative action plan that should be delivered by the chief equity officer, but the chief equity officer instead is going out to events, shaking hands, maybe doing some job fairs, but not doing the work that we established that position to do. Now, it was already stated that we did lose a lawsuit. We can't direct the work of that individual, but there's no claim in the world that you can show me evidence that our chief equity officer is doing the work of equity. And so any argument that the alcohol tax funds could be used to help that office help us understand better the equitable outcomes and inputs and outputs of our alcohol tax, it's just not based in reality. And so I look forward when we have our work session on affirmative action plan, the chief equity officer coming in and helping us understand how it works. But as I've seen, it's not that individual in that office doing that work, it's other people in the municipality who are actually doing that work. And we should hear from those who are doing the work and have an actual understanding of it. So to tie that all back together, it's a strong disservice to the issues of equity to have somebody who doesn't perform the actions of equity be funded under the name of that. And so I appreciate the work that the chief equity officer is doing, but it's certainly not the work that we set out, and it's certainly not the work in the job description, and it's certainly not the work that was intended to be funded through that budget. So close scrutiny of this question is important.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Constant. Ms. Allard was in the queue, but she says that Courtney answered the question, so good. Does anyone else want to speak? Mr. Rivera.
Thanks. So I think most of my colleagues made the points that I wanted to make, but just to reiterate, I think, in my opinion, if the chief equity officer were operating in the vision that I think this body and the prior administration had for this position, then I do think we wouldn't be facing this issue right now, at least not to the degree that we're facing it. So definitely looking forward to seeing if we can get this position back on track, perhaps in a future administration. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. And I'll